92.7 WOBM, Shawn Michaels with you, and it's another edition of Studio Sessions. We bring you some fantastic local artists and with an acoustic flair. Today we're joined by Lefty Southpaw, who's going to be performing for us. Good morning. Welcome to the program. Good to have you with us.
How you doing?
Well, we're doing good, and we're glad to have you here. We love the sound that we heard when you sent in your demo to us. How long have you been playing guitar for? Let's start there at the beginning. When did you first get into playing guitar?
Well, actually, I got into guitar late because of being left-handed. It so happened to be where everybody I knew that was always right-handed. So the bands that I was in, I was primarily the vocalist.
Yeah.
And then after a while, I just got to the point where, you wanted to have some more creative control. I would basically write the lyrics and come in on bands one band specifically that I got into down in Melbourne, Florida. And those guys were together as a unit. Bass, drums, and guitar player, and they didn't have a singer, and they'd get together and just play music. So it started out as friends with the bass player down there on a visit, and I sat in with them, and we just kind of just looked at each other after a few songs and said, hey, this is pretty good.
Yeah.
So then that's pretty much how I started with that. And then after a while, like I said, I started getting to the point where I was getting a little frustrated with ideas I'd have and didn't know how to convey it to somebody else. So I actually, on vacation back here in New Jersey, I'd gone up to 48th Street in the city figuring with $150 in my pocket, I'll come back with a guitar. But I went up there and I went into all the different stores there, and then nobody had any left-handed guitars that were, they had electrics for $500. But I ended up going to Sam Ash, and they said, wait a minute, I think there's one downstairs that somebody didn't pick up. So it was a plain Fender acoustic, and it was $200, and I only had $150. So it was like, But then I realized back then, the check cards, I just had one of those, and the debit cards.
Yeah.
So I had $100 in my bank account. Sure enough, that worked. So I bought this guitar and on my way. And then from there, it was just the idea of picking up some chords and messing around. And I never actually took any real lessons. I just picked up along the way when the guitar player in my band would show me some chords. I'd go home and practice them. And then, like anybody that knows that you get addicted to it, your fingers are hurting from pressing the strings, but you get into that mode where you just go and you realize all these different songs. And then especially when I started looking into it and finding different chords that you'd pick easier songs you could play that you'd like, not the standards. I'd always go for other songs that I loved all my life, and nothing better than finding a song that's, say, from the 80s, a Morrissey song or something, or anything in excess. I'd find songs that I started playing, and, then you start doing your own thing because, you just come up with different ideas and chord structures and that kind of way.
One of the people I think of when I think of left-handed guitar players, obviously I think like Paul McCartney. Everybody thinks of him. What were some of the left-handers that you liked growing up, or you didn't really look at it that way, as far as like how they played?
Yeah, I didn't really pay attention to that because I was always singing and vocalizing. And one of my earliest heroes was Elton John. When I was growing up in the 70s, I'm a little older, and I remember getting, Goodbye Yellow Brick Road, and then I loved that album, that's the singing on it and the song styles, and then every Elton John album I had. Never knowing he was from England. Back in those days, you didn't have MTV and the overexposure.
Yeah, exactly.
You'd stay up late watching Midnight Special or in concert or whatever on Friday or Saturday nights.
Yeah.
And there was no VCR, so if you couldn't force yourself to stay awake, you'd miss it,
Yeah. Who were some of the other people that when you were growing up that you liked?
Well, from Elton John, I got into a little Alice Cooper, and then David Bowie was a big influence, and just the song style and the voice and just everything about it was awesome.
Yeah.
And so then from then on, I just there's too many numerous. Yeah. Then I got into like the new wave stuff. I really loved synthesizer music, and I loved classic rock that would play. But then once I remember Devo coming out with, and my friends hating it, but I was attracted to it. And then Depeche Mode and all these kind of bands, and then I found all these alternative radio stations. And
Yeah, the 80s definitely brought in a lot of that type of music. And like you said, you mentioned people like Morrissey and INXS and, some of those groups as well. So today, are you playing locally here at the Shore?
Well, I haven't been playing as much as I'd like. I was, still a few years out after Sandy, but that kind of disrupted a lot. I am from Ortley Beach, and I was there when the storm happened and dealt with the reconstruction of our house and still ongoing things with looking around and, not to make any excuses, but...
No, it definitely puts a hamper on getting things done, when you have to put your mind towards, getting just life back to normal.
Absolutely.
So... All right, so we're going to hear some music from Lefty Southpaw coming up. And is there a way for folks to find you online, or just we'll throw the music out there and let them take a listen to it?
Well, you can listen to it. You can go to Facebook. I have Lefty Southpaw on Facebook.
Okay, very good. We'll have all the information up on our website to check out Lefty Southpaw with WOBM.